Hey, it's Sean. Welcome to another episode of The Long Shot Come Hell or High Water. Ordinarily, this is the part of the show where I would be pretending to be like a 1940s radio announcer, maybe, is that character, in introducing the show. But I just want to let you know, before you listen to this episode, we did have some technical difficulties over the course of the episode. The internet connections were not up to snuff, so to speak, and so it can be annoying. So I apologize in advance. I hope that doesn't become too annoying. If you don't care for it, feel free to not listen to all of it or any of it. But it is exciting to have Jamie back on the show. You know, that's the flip side, is that this is almost a must listen after all this time. So the name of the episode is Every Day I Start My Journaling with High Beat. And now please welcome the host of the show, and it's me. Thank you. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, good noon, good day, good dawn, good dusk, good desk. Welcome to The Long Shot. I am your host. My name is Sean Conroy. With me today on the show is not Joe Wagner, who is traveling around the southwestern part of the United States, attending to various responsibilities. My understanding is he's currently in the Los Angeles area, but who knows? He could be anywhere at this point. Also not here today, Amber Kenny. It is her husband's birthday today. It is a big day for her dog in some capacity. I'm not sure exactly. I don't totally understand what's going on with that, but I know it's an important event of some sort in her dog's life. So she's not here. But who is here? None other than the mysterious, the elusive, the sometimes thought to be no longer existent, but yet here he is, live and in person, Jamie Flam.
I thought you were going to say Sean Conroy.
That I'm elusive and mysterious? I always know where I am. I'm not elusive.
Yeah, it's good. Has it really been 3 months? You mentioned that.
I just pour out of a hat. I keep a hat here with numbers in it. And,
cool.
Well, you never know when you're going to need to reference a number of some sort, and you want to just go 6, you know. But anyway, I started to look as I was sitting here waiting for you to show up, which I didn't have to wait very long. You were almost exactly on time. I was like, I should look and see how long it's been since Jamie was here. And then all of a sudden I heard ding, because I have my Zoom set up to, or I guess Aaron has his Zoom. I'm on Aaron's Zoom, has his set up to notify when people are showing up. And here you were. So I didn't have a chance to look it up. But it's been a while. I mean, I don't know exactly how long, but it's been a while, wouldn't you say?
I would say 6 to 7 weeks.
That sounds reasonable. Right. That sounds reasonable. And you know, the good thing about that is we can always fact check that. We can look that up. There is a way to find out. You know, there's an extant record of when these things happened.
Maybe we could have a contest for our listeners, like the first person that comes in with the correct number gets a long shot something. Do we have any merch?
As always, your contests are well thought out and you know, attract incredible amounts of excitement
I forgot about the history of the contest. Or lack thereof.
So yeah, folks, if you're listening, if you're a longtime long shot listener, please weigh in with how long it's been since Jamie was on the show, and whoever gets it right first will get a long shot something. So there you go. So Jamie, you know, it's just you and today. Which means a couple of things. It means we're going to get into it. It means, I mean, in a way, you know, I'm disappointed that the other guys are not here because I enjoy them. But at the same time, the fact that Joe is not here, well, Joe, not so much, but the fact that Amber is not here is, in a way, how should I say this? It's good. It means you and I can both get a word in edgewise. As we know at this point, Amber just never lets either of us say anything. So we can finally communicate about a variety of things that we don't have a chance to when Amber is here.
Finally, how long has Joe been in at all in the last 2 months? Okay.
No.
It's just been you and Amber.
Yes. Yes, it has been Amber and myself to an exhausting degree. In fact, in one episode was just me. There was no Amber. It was a relentless barrage of amusing witticisms. But you know, that was neither hither nor thither. So Jamie, let me ask you this. I mean, we have a lot to talk about, I think.
Maybe we'll see.
Or this could be the end of the episode right here if you want. We could just go, thank you. That's our show. But what has been going on with you? What the fuck has been going on? I mean, I follow you on TikTok, so I see you doing all the TikTok dances and like, hey, where you going? Don't get too strong. Like all that, you know, all those kind of things. But
is that what TikTok is? I still honestly don't know.
It's mostly people doing dances that other people already did, as far as I can tell. I'm not an expert. And then there's also one of my favorite things on TikTok is the people who give very definitive things that they just point to. But that's a thing.
What are you doing on TikTok?
I am trying to, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm actually trying to read War and Peace out loud on TikTok. And I just get cut off right away, like immediately. I don't even get through chapter 1. And, but I'm still trying. I'm still struggling to try to get through.
Cut off by TikTok?
Yeah. They
Technology?
They do a certain amount of time. And
got it.
I'm getting faster, but I'm still only getting through 60 or 70.
You can only get through war.
Yeah. Well, you know, the war doesn't even happen until much, much later in the book. So I get through the precursor, the negotiations that go south and that eventually lead to war. So what's going on with you besides your TikTok dancing?
That aside, I as I do before any long shot episode, I started going through my calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started.
Do you have a paper calendar, or is it like a digital, like a thing you carry around in your pocket?
Yeah, it's like a digital pocket calendar. And I didn't get a lot from that. And then I started going through my journaling. It's
been, well, I said 3 months. You said 6 to 7 weeks. We have a contest now about how long it's been. But what I feel like what this is leading up to is like, nothing's going on.
I in a way, that is my answer. It's like, it's crazy looking back on these journals. I mean, a lot the kind of headlines are I moved to a new apartment. So that's a big life event. That took a lot of energy, and I'm in this new place. I like it so far. I like this part of town. I like the physical thing. It's going to take a few more weeks to kind of get settled with putting up shelves and, you know, getting rid of all the boxes and all that. So that's a thing. And then we reopened the theater at the beginning of July. And for about 30 days straight, I was at the theater every night, training a new staff, learning and relearning all the operations of the theater and getting reacclimated to being around people. Right. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work. It was very intense. So those are the big things. I don't think there's a lot of specific stories there.
I mean, I would be interested in digging into both of those, but keep going. We can go back to those, but go ahead.
But then I go into my journal and I'm reading, and it's like, in I think a funny way of just like, and it's still the same kind of back and forth of like I'm two in my head and I'm flitting around and what am I doing? And today I figured out the secrets of the universe, and now I don't know. And then the next day I don't know any of the secrets of the universe, and I'm not even trying to put any judgment on it. It's just like I found it entertaining in a way of just like how in some ways predictable and how the loops are, and then in the last couple of days I've been in kind of an existential, I mean, I'm always in an existential crisis. I think that's a thing, but
an existential crisis of your own making. It's not like a dilemma that's forced upon you by the world. It's your own, right? Like you're kind of going, what am I doing? Why am I here? Is all this worth it? Why are we?
What is this? We're these I mean, I've probably been here before, but we're just two creatures with arms and legs right now and microphones and
speak for yourself, my friend.
You lost I don't know. And what is this insane ride we're on? And we're gonna die. And why do I worry about anything ever? And why am I even judging what's in this journal? And why do I keep a journal? Just enjoy it. There's nothing to do, but just it's all so silly, and all the problems are in my head, and as are all the I don't know. So that's the kind
sounds like a bit of a rabbit hole.
I would call it a rabbit hole for sure. And what else is new, right? How are you?
Well, let's break these things down a little bit, because I think there's a lot more to what you're saying than you give yourself credit for, which is always the case. So first of all, I want to ask about your journal. Are you journaling? Is this a journal from now, from like recent journaling, or is it an old? Because I know you're a guy who loves to go, hey, you guys want to watch me read from my 7th grade journal on stage? So is this an old thing, or where are we at with the journal thing?
I guess I've kept a journal going for most of my life, starting junior high. But I think about during the pandemic, I started a much more, I don't know if robust is the word, but or more consistent journaling and it's very specific now, where I check in with myself. I might have mentioned this at some point in the last year.
I think in a checking in, maybe at some point you mentioned it. You know?
But it's become a consistent way of me, like literally checking in with myself, trying to be nice to myself, trying to break things down. I mean, just as any journal is, just whatever is going on, trying to get there, trying to be creative when it comes up. And I guess it's all creative. What's maybe interesting, or just during the move, there was about 10 days between the move and everything the last few days where
hold on. Can we just go back a second? Because you said trying to be creative. And I just wonder what that means in terms of journaling and checking in with yourself. Like, it seems like when you're journaling, when you're checking in with yourself, and I'm only speaking from the outside, I don't know what your process is, but it seems like you would go like, this is how I feel. This is what's going on with me. As opposed to being creative, to me is something like, and then the cat in the hat decided to open what was in the newfangled family credenza or whatever, like writing something new, creating something, it feels like two different things, but you make it sound as if you're journaling sometimes in that kind of creativity. Is that accurate?
It can. I think I'm even in the last year, like if you look through my journal, like it can turn into drawings, it can turn into block lettering, which is it is what it is. But important thoughts.
I know, I know what block lettering is.
Sometimes I try to make little shadows. I've always wanted to get into hand lettering. Anyway.
Origami, I think that's called.
It is called origami. This is a quick aside.
Yes.
I about 6 months ago or a year ago, I don't know how long it goes, but I I have these little note cards that I put all my to-do lists and ideas and stuff on. And then once every couple months or whatever frequency, I will go through them and then usually just transfer those to another bigger sheet. In fact, I just did it a couple of days ago. But then I crumple them up and I throw them down. And sometimes there's up to like 30 or 40 pieces of crumpled up paper on the floor. In the case that I'm alluding to, I was throwing them on a now former chair of mine that I owned. And so I had like,
what is it? What is it now?
I guess it's the current chair of the new residents of my old apartment.
I see.
Oh,
you left it there.
I actually gave them.
So it's still a chair. It's not a former chair. It's a chair formerly of you.
As far as I know, maybe it was destroyed or turned into a bed. I don't know, or a toilet is probably the most likely scenario in my old neighborhood. But yes, as far as I know, it's still a chair.
Okay.
But I was throwing all of the little notes that were crumpled up, and then I posted a picture of it on Instagram and made a joke about being origami. But it wasn't until afterwards, and then I got a bunch of people commenting about, "Oh, you're like into origami," and then it's like, no, it was a joke. But then, yeah, I didn't. Why would anyone not just take it at face value and think it was? I get it would look like very bad origami, but it was like a classic thing that I do. Or yeah,
I just want to make one bird, and I am failing over and over.
That is what it would look like. Yeah, I'm just getting frustrated.
Right.
Anyway, that was I forgot how I got to that story. Was it the chair? Was it the note cards? Was it?
Does it matter? It's still a story, and you told it. So here we are. But so talk more about your journaling practice.
Oh, so as far as the creative, a lot of times it is just me kind of checking in with myself, usually trying to be a positive, like, hey, Jamie, you might be stressed out right now, but don't forget that this week you actually did this and this and this. Don't forget that all these things are happening. Don't forget that all this stuff is in your head. You're stressing about these things and no one else is. Whatever it is trying to be a nice parent.
Be kind to yourself.
Being kind to yourself as a general rule. But sometimes, like if I have a thought and like I'm able to like, I will take it. Whereas the intention isn't to write a short story or to write poetry or anything like that, but I just follow it a little bit deeper and start making little connections, and just enough where I'm like, oh, there's the creativity. If I can tap into this more often, oh my God, just think of what I could do, or what. Mm-hmm. And also, this is my favorite place to be. I think it doesn't happen quite as often as I want it to, but
right.
But that would be the creativity in my journaling. Is what I'm.
And so here's the next part of that is you have these creative moments, these moments of inspiration. It sounds like a moment of inspiration where you're in the middle of a process of just being a good parent to yourself. And you suddenly, because you're being such a good, kind parent to yourself, you go, hey, I have an idea and I'm going to explore it a little bit. The next step in that would be you then go back through and take that and expand on it and make it into something larger? Or is this a thing that happens in the journal? Your journal lost is basically like what happens in the journal stays in the journal,
That's one of the frustrating things is that it's always my intention, not even necessarily to go back to the creative stuff, but to go back to the breakthroughs I have about just ceremonial things I even want in my life, the reminders that I want every day. I'm like, I'm going to distill this all down into the Bible, my personal Bible that will help dictate, like not dictate, but just that I can wake up. Because I think I've used the word before with you, re-epiphany, where it's like, I have the same epiphanies over and over again, like every couple months, every few weeks, like, oh my God, how did I forget that I could be excited about this? Like, and that's where I'm like, I need this.
I don't think you've ever used that word with me before, but it's kind of a perfect word for you, which is, a good thing. That means progress. Like you're identifying not a problem, but a symptom of coming to the same realization over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, if ever on this show, how many times have I had these same? So more than ever, wanting to just distill them down into a place where I'm just connecting to them, ideally daily, um, so that they're less epiphanies and more these guiding principles in my own life. Um, and this is not going to, I think, do justice to the idea of the creativity, but I don't even know if it's related. But you know the idea of getting grounded as a kid, you get grounded.
Do I know it? I lived it.
I'm sure you were a rascal. I never even thought about but I was thinking about the idea of like grounding myself. I feel like very untethered right now, or I feel ungrounded. But like, oh, when a kid gets grounded, the idea is that I imagine that I've just never thought about where the word or the phrase comes from. I was like, oh, this kid needs to be some more grounding in their life because they're getting out of control. Have you ever thought about the meaning of the word grounded?
I see it differently. Yes, I do. I see it as a thing where the parent, usually it's a parent who grounds a child and says, this is the ground you will be on for the foreseeable future, whether you're grounded for a week or a month
Oh,
or a year, or like myself, for your entire adolescence. This is your ground. You are grounded. This is where you will be
that does make
henceforth.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
I brought it up to Vanessa earlier, and her take was like, it's like you're a plane, like a plane has been grounded, like you're not flying tonight.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that makes sense too. It's also, another version of grounded could be that you're like when you ground beef is when you go through you get all chopped up into little pieces. So maybe it's a parent saying, this is where
Okay.
I'm going to chop you up into little pieces for the next several weeks. And then, we'll see where things go after that. So yeah, it could also have to do with our electrical systems. If you're grounded, your wiring is
Oh,
connected in
right.
such a way that electricity flows through you. So, maybe I don't know where it comes from, but
There
I
could be
think all
a
of these
coffee
are,
thing. Yeah.
I think, yeah, exactly. Could be a coffee thing. I think these are all distinct possibilities, definitely.
So that's a thing. Anyway, I think that's where I'm at. That's my checking in. I want to hear about
That's no, no,
this
no, no,
guy.
no, no, no. That's not your checking in. We were talking about your journaling, and
Right.
you sort of went off on a tangent about your realization that grounding meant something which I did not agree with, and then it sort of sputtered out like a candle in the wind, and
As it's wont to do.
I just let it hang there. I shouldn't have done that. I did it just for a moment, let it hang there, and you tried to change the subject. But let's keep talking about your checking in. So your journaling practice, are you doing that every day, or is that just like once in a while, or is it like, do you wake up in the morning and that's what you're starting with, or how does it work?
Every day it's on my to-do list. Is every morning I try to meditate.
And where do you keep your to-do list? Is that in your journal, or is that a separate thing?
That is usually one of these
Mm-hmm.
daily note cards where every day I write wake up, so I instantly have something I can cross off. Meditate, write, and walk are usually the main morning activities.
What would happen? This is just a hypothetical. What would happen if you did not write "wake up" on your to-do list?
I have gotten a little superstitious of
Could you have like a little Rip Van Winkle incident?
not familiar with that. Is that a fairy tale? Is that
It's more of a legend.
riddle?
It's more of a
Okay.
legend than a fairy tale. Certainly not a riddle. No, Rip Van Winkle was a guy who fell asleep at some point and woke up 20 years later, and he had a beard. I mean,
Oh.
I don't remember all the details. It was in the Hudson Valley in the 1600s, maybe 1700s, something like that. But
How far did you grow up from Hudson Valley?
10 feet. So when I got grounded, it was like, you are allowed to be here, but not in the Hudson Valley.
Okay.
No, not far. I mean, my home was fairly close to Hudson Valley. I would say 45-minute drive from there.
It came up recently, and I forget why, but about 3 years ago, I went to a wedding out there and just found it to be a
It's
beautiful
beautiful.
country. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of beautiful places in this great country of ours.
I feel
and
like
in the
New
world.
Rochelle comes up, and I can't think of an example, but
Well,
you're my.
I can think of an example. March 10th, 2020, when New Rochelle became the first national story in the COVID lockdown. That was,
Oh,
that was a big deal.
what was
And
the
then, of
story?
course, that somebody had gotten infected with COVID and then gone back and infected a bunch of people at their local synagogue in New
Oh,
Rochelle, and the National Guard got called out, and there was a it was a crazy story. There was a containment zone in New Rochelle with the National Guard walking around and stuff,
oh, geez.
and then a few days later was when the whole country got locked down, and here we are. So okay, so you get up, you do your to-do list. The first thing you cross off is, do you have go to bed at the end of your to-do list?
It's funny I don't. It's funny. It's very funny that I don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's a riddle that I don't.
I don't know if it's a riddle or if it's funny. But so how long into the day before you start journaling?
Well, typically, I try to do it within the first hour. But what I'll say is, throughout the move and the days around it, I didn't. There's just so much happening that I didn't. And I realized in the last couple of days when I repicked it up again, like how vital it is for me to, even if it's just writing for 2 minutes, like it's very important. It's like otherwise I'm just not connecting. I'm just floating and reacting to things. And that's where the nice voice in my head would tell me right now, it's okay. You're not reacting to everything. You're you have control in some moments. It's all fluid. But I'm noticing even now, like how often I do that. It's like, and always have. It's all this or all nothing. Like I still want to say the last week has been a wash, but there have been good moments and bad moments and everything in between.
But your sense when you're not journaling is that you are not in control.
Yes. Another thing about control, I'm back into an obsession with my steps. And I've been counting them I've never stopped really looking, but especially during the pandemic, I just kind of let them go.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking about with my therapist, like it not occurred to me, I knew there was some sort of measure of control in just the fact that I'm looking at my phone constantly to see how many steps I'm at. But we talked about it this morning. I was like, she was like, well, how do you feel when you're looking at your steps? And I was like, I'm not thinking. Like I'm actually start calculating. I'm like, well, if I'm averaging 8,000 steps a day right now, and I have 1,000 steps, if I do 10,000 steps today, I'll get that up to 10,000, whatever it is. And I'm starting to do these math equations, and I was like, oh, what I'm getting out of it is that I'm not in my head about other shit.
You're distracted.
I'm distracted and just at least present in that. And I was like, but it made more sense of like why it's a thing. Like I'm looking for control. Just knowing that it really is a control-based thing, and that if I'm trying to clear my head in that way, that it doesn't have to be steps to get that amount of solace or just distraction. Mm-hmm. I don't know. You watching White Lotus?
Don't try to change the subject. So you get up, you spend an hour dicking around, then you start writing in your journal, and then you feel control. You already by then probably have 8 or 10 steps in your watch.
At least 8 or 10.
And things seem to be going well. And then you sort of dive into, and here's another question I have about your journaling. Because the way you described it, you're like, so then I write in my journal and I'm like, hey, Jamie, blah, blah, blah. Do you literally address yourself that way in your writing?
Every day for the last year or so. At the beginning of the pandemic, and I don't remember if we were doing the long show at the time, but I had about a week of a major, I don't even know what I would call it, breakdown, opening up. But it was a very, I think it was at a time when everyone was going through the stuff.
Very different things. By the way, you say it was like a breakdown, like an opening up. I'm like, I have no idea what that is. What is the?
It was at the beginning of lockdown, mm-hmm. And it had to do with The long and short of it was for about 4 or 5 days straight, I cried more than I have in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was writing at the end of like, I think it was like a 3 or 4 week period. I did a word count and I was like, and then I looked up how many words are in a novel, a typical or an average novel? And whatever it was like, I was
50,000.
right about there. Then I was like, you wrote 50,000 words in the last, I don't know if it was a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but I was like, oh shit. I got a lot of stuff out and I was exploring things and making connections in my life. And as part of it, I started talking to, I think the voices just organically came, and which I later found out through therapy, and like it's a natural thing to develop these relationships with the benevolent voices in your head, just the voices in your head that are. I started developing a relationship with talking to my ego, and starting a relationship just talking with like the good parents in my head that want to be nice to me.
Mm-hmm.
And they started to become these characters that Vanessa and I created years ago called Bald Eagle and Troll. This is where it's going to get off the rails.
Oh, sure. I remember Bald Eagle and Troll.
Do you? I honestly don't know if I've ever brought them up.
Yeah, I do. No, I saw a show where you did those characters.
Okay, so those characters, to this day, I mean, they play an important role, and there's this a world that is rich that Vanessa and I have built that we are excited to just continue to build as soon as we can. But in the meantime, Bald Eagle and Troll started to become like these physical representations, or in my mind anyway, of the nice voices. It was like a bald eagle and a troll, like, hey, Jamie. Anyway, if you Bald Eagle and Troll is BEAT, beat. So then it started becoming, I started shortening to just beat. And anyway, in the last year, it's no longer, I'm not necessarily thinking about a cartoon bald eagle and a cartoon troll talking to me, but it's just come to represent the voices in my head. So every day I start my journaling with, hi, Beat. And then every time Beat will respond, hi, Jamie. And then in brackets, I write beaming. I don't remember where that came from, but that's many months ago. So almost every day.
That's a Star Trek. That's a Star Trek reference.
Well, I did. I was referencing because almost without fail, once I write hi, Beat, hi, Jamie, I start beaming. I'm just smiling. I'm like, all right, I'm just connected, even if it's just for a moment. So that became how I journal. It's like, and then I started thinking about beaming is tapping into the greater frequency of the energy of the world. And like, so I feel like I'm beaming out now, and I'm now connected to the greater energy. But that's usually how my journaling starts. And some days in the last week, it'll just be that. After beaming, I'm like, all right, that was just the grounding exercise that I needed.
World, here I come.
Right now, like it woke me up. Just like I just checked in with myself. So that's where the journaling starts. And usually from there, I'll start talking about where I'm at or any stresses or whatever. But
so you're finding it helpful ultimately to communicate beamingly with Beat.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now I just feel more alive than I have in the last 20 or 30 minutes. I'm like, oh yeah, here I am.
Great. Okay, so that was one thing. I also find it interesting. This is not a certainly not a criticism of you, and it's not a criticism of anybody really, but I just think it's funny that we are all so open about, I think this is good ultimately, that we are all so open about saying, yeah, I was talking to my therapist about it. Like that is a thing that was not always true. And this is the second conversation I've had today. And the previous one was not with somebody that I have a relationship like I have with you, where I feel like we could say whatever to each other. This is a professional relationship I have with somebody where we're not close. I don't know this person that well. And they were like, yeah, I was talking to my therapist about that just the other day and blah, blah. And I was like, oh, it's just interesting that people are at a point where they're so comfortable with that they just can drop that in a conversation and not feel like somebody is going to be like, okay, I guess this guy goes to therapy, you know? And I said that to my therapist. My therapist was like, please don't mention me publicly.
It is. I agree. It's mental health in the last few years obviously has become a huge talking point, and I've noticed on all the dating apps, and I mean, there's nothing to go into there, but oftentimes on a girl's profile, it'll say like not only interested if you're seeing a therapist. Like
only interested if you're seeing a therapist.
Don't quote that exact thing, but like but I will see references to like they're hoping that you see a therapist. Like that's
what if you did, but you don't anymore because your insurance has changed?
I haven't seen that as a looking for thing, but I think the fact that
somebody being really specific, if you had a therapist and you don't anymore because your insurance has changed, do not match me.
But open to it, I think that would be a selling point. So I'm taking it from that comment that you're not seeing a therapist currently because of the
no. I was just saying. I mean, I don't believe in therapy, so I'm not saying that.
Okay.
So let's talk about your move. Let's talk about what led to that, why you decided to do it, how long you were at the old place, haven't found the new. Like, this seems like a weird time to be looking for a new place.
Well, I wanted to move. I've been wanting to move for a while.
How long were you living at the place you were at?
Longer than I've ever lived anywhere in my life, which is crazy. Longer, like
I don't know how long you have lived anywhere in your life, so that could be 2 weeks. I don't know.
That's a good point. The longest place I lived before that was when I was 9 years old. I moved into a house with my family, and I moved out when I was 18. So I lived there for 9 years.
Where were you before that? Before you were 9, so you moved in with your family when you were 9 years old.
That's a funny thing to say. Before that, we were in another house. And before that, there was another house.
Your whole family moved together. It wasn't like you got to be 9 and they were like, okay, let him in. Let the kid come in.
Right. Uh-huh. So I lived here just over 9 years in this apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Where I moved, I mean, I knew you longer than that, which is crazy to me.
Right. Right. You were living with your grandmother before that.
That's right.
Or as you say, your grandma.
My grandma. And I think about that from time to time. Like I'll say grandma, I'll think about your reaction to like, and then I think I laugh because it's like, yeah, I never question it. Yeah, grandma. But like when you really think about it, it's like, there is like a ma. Like I grew up in a family that says ma and pa.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, so you were living with your grandma and then you moved into this place did you have the job before you moved there or after you moved there at the Improv?
I did have the job.
So it was related to that you moved there.
It was not really. Like my friends, one of my oldest and best friends, her parents own the apartment building. And so when one of the units became available, it happened to be 2 blocks from the Improv and created a really wild, I don't know, wild's the right word, but just, yeah, I'll look back at this time of like, I worked and I walked to work. I barely drove. I went to Cantor's. I lived in this little neighborhood.
It was a happy accident.
It was a happy accident and very convenient. And the rent, because it was family friends, was probably
$12 a month.
It was, might as well have been. It was just super reasonable, and it made it. It was both a good and bad thing. It was only a good thing. And like, I don't know if I would have been able to make it ultimately work without having that great rent for so long.
Right.
But it made it hard to move because it was like to get like a place even similar, like would be almost double the rent, if not double.
Right.
And in fact, I'm paying just about double, just under double for a place that I'm so glad I moved. I don't think square footage wise is much bigger, but it feels like an upgrade, and I'm so glad to be on a new part of town. And it's right across the street from Vanessa, my business partner, my creative partner, and one of my closest friends. And
bald eagle to your troll.
Yeah. Bald eagle to my troll. I think we oscillate between what those characters represent. But I was house sitting for her, and I saw a for rent sign, and I called it up. And this was a nice.
You called the sign up.
I called the sign up, and
What?
What?
You seem exasperated.
I'm trying to, because it's like I am trying to yes and like
Oh.
I'm picturing a cartoon.
You were gonna try to go into our classic real estate on the phone bit.
Yes.
Well, next time,
if it comes up. But I talked to this lady, and she's like, "Yeah, if you want, there's someone that already looked at this apartment, but if you want to come check it out, we're still doing credit checks and stuff on them, and if it opens up, it could be yours." And I took a look at the apartment. I thought it was great. Sent like an application in, and then a couple of days later, unfortunately, the other applicant, their credit went through, so we have to offer to them, "Would you like us to let you know if another apartment opens up?" I was like, "Sure." And sure enough, about 3 months later, they called, and this apartment had opened up, and I got it, and here I am.
That I should have cut that story off right at the beginning, because that was not, that didn't really go anywhere. It was just like, sure enough, they called, and I said,
I talk about
still interested.
There was a pregnancy scare in there too.
What part of town are you in now?
I'm in Los Feliz.
And
I say it like that because
nice area.
It's right by the Griffith Park. And it's
Los Feliz, a lot of people say.
Yes, I think there's a lot of.
But that's a mispronunciation, you're saying.
I'm not trying to take a side on that argument, but I made the choice knowing that, because until I made the choice, like I would be like Los Feliz, Los Feliz, I don't know, and I like make it be a whole little thing every time I said it. Now I'm just like, I say Los Feliz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it. So neighborhood over there. There's lots of it's a part of town where there's an area that you can walk around in, and there's like a bookstore and a coffee shop and a restaurant and all. There's little parts of LA that feel almost like a Greenwich Village type area. Because I always look up to New York as the highest standard in terms of city living, and LA is so not like that. But there's little areas, and Los Feliz, as I say, Los Feliz, as you say, is one of those areas. And like you said, it's right near Griffith Park, which is beautiful, just municipal park in the United States.
Well, I love mountains, and like right now, this time of day, like last week, my friend came out, and we went and walked down to a place called Casito del Campo, which is have you ever been there?
Mm-mm.
It's this Mexican restaurant with but it's right off of Hyperion. We were walking down.
I call it Casito de Campo.
Oh, got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I try not to get in that controversy either.
Yeah.
And but just walking down, and there's like twilight, and like all the houses in the hills, surrounding Hyperion. I think it's like Echo Park and Silver Lake Hills, and like I just feel at home in this, in a way that. And I feel safe. Like I'm walking around. My neighborhood. Obviously I was robbed at gunpoint at some point several years ago, and I think I've told the story about getting chased one night by a scary man, and
right.
And my neighborhood.
Didn't you go into a hotel or something like that when that guy was chasing you?
That's a good memory. There was a lady smoking a cigarette.
It's a good memory. No, it's not a good memory. But I see what you're saying. I have a good memory. Yes.
Yeah, the Pali Hotel. It was a weird neighborhood because it was like in some ways very Tony, and then
hey, how you doing, Tony?
Other ways very scary, and in the last couple of years, especially during the pandemic, I think it became a little bit more sketchy.
Right,
and
as did everything, I think, during the pandemic.
For sure.
I mean, once the streets are abandoned, it's less safe than it was when they weren't abandoned.
Absolutely.
When everybody's staying home. And obviously moving is stressful. It's like they say that's one of the most stressful things, aside from, somebody in your family dying or a visit from your mother-in-law. No, I don't know what the other thing. But there's also an element of moving where it's like a new beginning, a fresh start. You're in a new place. You get to design it the way you always wanted to. You get to do all the things you didn't do in the other place. It's brand new, and you're revitalized, I think, when you move into a new place.
Yeah, that was the other thing was the other place, like, and I was so glad to have it. And it was a nice apartment, but I think 90% of the furniture, like, it was amazing at the time. Like, I moved in and there was a bunch of furniture from the previous tenant, and they sold it to me really cheap because they had to move to New York really quick. But so much of the stuff never felt like it was mine, and I've been carrying around stuff for years before that. And so when I moved out, I got rid of so much of my stuff. I still have more stuff I want to get rid of, but like, I feel like I've pared down. I have less stuff weighing me down, and I can be much more thoughtful about all the stuff that I put in here, and it feels so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm, I've been in this place for a long time.
20 years? 15?
30 years.
Jesus.
Since I graduated from junior high. Well, the week after I graduated from junior high, I moved in with my family for a week, and then I moved here right after that. So
this is
I think I've been in this
anyway.
I think this really is the longest I've ever lived anywhere. I think I've been here for like 14 years, but I had a pre-epiphany the other day that
pre-epiphany.
I think I'm going to redo the whole place over the next however long. I mean, obviously it costs money to do that, and I don't have a ton of money right now, and I'm not expecting a lot to come in, but I think one of the things you can do is go, this is my plan, and maybe it takes a while for me to do that, but I can start and, like, piece by piece go, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And because I was overcome by the feeling of, like, part of it is the pandemic, being here all the time. I'm like, I want this to be a place that I want to be,
yeah,
as opposed to just like a place I have to be, and, like, whatever, there's piles of crap everywhere. So
I feel like the last time I was over there, it was like you'd gotten rid of stuff, or like, and that was probably over a year or two ago, but like
that was a while ago. Yeah,
big changes.
Yeah, but it's still not, it's not designed the way I would like for it to be, and that's the next step, and that's where you are right now. Is you can do whatever the fuck you want, and I think my problem sometimes when I have been in this situation before, and this is certainly what happened here, is I move into a place with that attitude of, like, I can do whatever I want here. And then all of a sudden, life goes on and there's a million other responsibilities, and I never get around to all the things I was going to do. And then all of a sudden it's years later and I'm like, fuck, why is this still not my perfect living space, And there's a million reasons for that, but anyway, that's one of the, I mean, now I'm having a pre-epiphany about that as I'm talking about it, but, so let's talk about the theater a little bit, Jamie. What's going on with that? How is that going? What are the protocols? Are there people coming? What's live comedy like these days? All those things. And I know I always throw a lot of questions at you, and then you melt down and don't answer any of them and just go, that's all I have to say about that. So why don't we start with, how is the theater going in operation?
Well, I will say, because, and I get self-conscious because I genuinely want to hear about you. And
look, let me tell you something. I have been talking on this podcast, assuming Amber will let me get a word in edgewise, for months and months. So people are dog tired of hearing what I have to say.
There must have been an incident at Starbucks that you need to get off your
right,
chest.
Exactly. So let's find out about your theater.
Okay. It's been going well. I think audiences have been very excited to be back. And this is all saying the last 2 weeks it's taken kind of a turn again, where this Delta variant is not in a crazy way, but we've had a couple of shows cancel, and, like, there's definitely, I think, a new level of fear, and some more refunds are being asked for. But our protocol has been the same. Actually, the one thing that's changed is our protocol is like, starting with all new shows booked, we're no longer accepting vaccinations. You have to be vaccinated. And this sounds like the state.
Wait. You're no longer accepting vaccinations. You have to be vaccinated?
No longer accepting, I'm sorry, negative COVID tests as a.
Oh,
so basically,
okay. You must be vaccinated.
Yes, exactly. And it sounds like that might be the state's mandate anyway. But yeah, we're requiring everyone. We take temperature at the door. We have to be vaccinated. And
temperature at the door to me feels like security theater. I feel like that's bullshit. Do you think it's effective?
I think it's just another way of making people feel comfortable. And But
so that's what I mean by security theater. It's like an act for the people coming in. It doesn't actually tell you anything. How many people have you? And by the way, I should say, as I'm getting into this, I'm 100% on board with everybody has to be vaccinated to come in. I think that's great. I think that's exactly what you should be requiring. But how many people have you tested their temperature and been like, sorry, you can't come in?
I think we're 100% for right in that sweet zone of
100% you've not allowed in.
We have allowed in.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and most people, I mean, it's like, obviously we're, I think, a pretty progressive theater, and our acts are attracting an audience that are not there to. But there's been a couple events like rentals, big productions where, you know, there's some people that like gave a little more, they're a little bit more annoyed or.
Can you give me a specific on that? Can you tell me a story about that where somebody was, you know, pushing their luck as far as like, I don't have to be vaccinated. This is America.
I don't think anything has gotten to there. Nothing has gotten certainly violent. And I haven't been there for any of it. It's I've been at the theater, but we have, you know, our door people, and more like they've been telling us like stories after a couple of particular shows where there was seemingly a little bit more of a less vaccinated audience than others. But yeah, nothing too crazy.
I want to hear more about this. I think we should take a break for a moment. So let's stop, and then we'll come back and talk more about Jamie's theater and how he has threatened people into being vaccinated. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey everybody, it's Sean, and Jamie and I are taking a break right now, so I will take this opportunity to say we have not done a mailbag episode in a while, so we should probably do that soon, which means this might be a great opportunity for you to rattle off an email to us. Our email is mailbag@thelongshotpodcast.com. Send us an email. You know, there's a variety of subjects you could tackle. You could send us some advice about our lives. You could make a request for a different character for the announcer at the top of the show. He doesn't have to be a 1940s radio announcer. He could be a 1930s radio announcer. Send an email begging Joe to show up once in a while. Whatever you feel like, just send it to us, because my sense is that somebody will comb through these emails sometime soon, and we'll read some on the show. And we always love to hear from you, especially when it's complaints. And now, back to our regularly scheduled programming. But there will be nothing to take, 'cause everyone came here before us, and nobody made me a deal. We're back. You are listening to The Long Shot, starring Jamie Flam as Jamie Flam. We were talking about your theater and what's been going on. You have been checking temperatures. You have been demanding vaccinations. Do people wear masks when they're at the theater?
They do.
Mm-hmm.
Master required, although once seated, you are free to remove it to eat your popcorn and drink your. And this is actually the most exciting news is that we added Boylan's brand bottled drinks to our menu. So when you're drinking,
explain to me how that's exciting.
I mean, until we reopened, we served Coca-Cola and LaCroix was one of our go-tos, and now we have a more premium offering, which is these Boylan sodas, which are these cane sodas.
I call it LaCroix, by the way.
Oh, that's funny.
That's how it's pronounced. Yeah.
It's like never mind. I'm so in my head, per usual, but I feel like I feel more measured than I usually do.
Mm-hmm.
But is it just me, or do I have the most boring, monotone voice in the history of the world for the entirety of this podcast?
I can't speak to it. I can't. I have no. I don't think so. But I could be wrong. I could be. Here's what I would say: is don't judge yourself. Beat.
It just I'll be. But yeah, maybe that could be another contest. If you're listening out there, how many weeks has it been? And is the timbre or I don't know, the
timbre?
vocal? That's what I meant to say. But it's timbre, but it's got the I. So
right,
you understand.
I do. Or
it's my Los Feliz.
Right. Well, I'm glad that so people are coming out for comedy at this point.
Yeah, I think in the last, like I said, there's been, I think with this current Delta thing, a little bit of a drop off, and but people are out there. The shows have been better than ever. I think people are, especially in the first few weeks, but I think it's continued, but just so eager to see comedy and to connect again. And
mm-hmm.
So audience has been good. And
so there's hope for the future, basically, is what you're saying.
I think, yes, there's a lot of hope for the future. It's exciting. And yeah, just I've been thrust back into, we had to hire basically a new night staff. We have a couple people, full-timers that have been with us through the pandemic, but part of the reason it's been extra crazy is that we need to hire all the night managers and people to be at the place every night. So I'm finally at the point where I can leave early a couple nights a week, and we trust people to lock up. But it's been kind of just like the first few months of opening the theater originally. I'm just like, oh my God, there's so many little things, and of course just trusting people. And we have this great staff that's come to work for us.
Is that your internet slowing down, or was that just you?
But it takes a while to make. Oh, did I cut out? It would look like your eyes were so far up in your head because you were frozen. You're like,
oh no.
But it's possible they were anyway.
That's true.
But yeah, it's been so fun. Vanessa and I, the last couple of shows, we finally relinquished our spot working and selling popcorn and working at concessions because we were just having so much fun. Just the two of us, just selling drinks and popcorn and talking to everybody. And it was, so much fun just to see people again. And just to connect. It's nice. Have you been out? Have you seen shows? Have you performed on any shows yet?
No, and no. No, I haven't. And I'm not thrilled about that. So we'll see what happens going forward. But that leads me into, I think we should do parting shots because I'm concerned that technical difficulties are marring this episode in a way that will be unpleasant and difficult. So I kind of want to get out of here before things get worse, just in case. But here is, I'll go first on parting shots. Hopefully you are prepared for this part of the show. It's something we've done for years and years. And
remind me of how it works again.
Sometimes there's a disaster lurking at the end when it comes around to somebody else's turn for parting shots. But let's I'll go first with parting shots. I have not performed live at all in a year and a half, which is mind blowing, mind numbing, I mind that has happened, and I don't care for it. And I don't know when I'm going to get back to it. Like, I just don't even know where to begin at this point. But and then I was thinking about something, which is that years ago, and this goes back over a decade, I would say, which was one of the times in my life that I was trying to learn to play the guitar. You know, you're familiar with the guitar as an instrument. I was trying to learn to play the guitar, and I was learning a song on the guitar, and I was going to play it live in a show at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater. Like, that was kind of the goal, was that it was a bunch of us show. People were kind of doing, you know, impressions of various famous musicians or whatever. And it was just a silly, fun way to actually play guitar on stage and, play whatever for people to show off their musical talents on stage. I would assume that it probably came out of the fact that around that time was when Matt Besser learned to play guitar for his part in Walk Hard, which he actually learned. He took lessons for months and learned to play, and has maintained that ever since. He still plays and loves it. And I think this was a way for him to take what he had learned and put it on stage. And he was like, if anybody else wants to do this. So anyway, I was like, I had up till that point in my life, I had tried several times to learn to play the guitar and never completely followed through. I mean, when I first moved out here, when I was working on a show called Love Inc., I used to take lessons once a week for probably 6 months, and, you know, learn some chords and some progressions and this and that. But, you know, you have to practice. It's like anything else. You can't just be good at something, you know? So anyway, I learned this song on the guitar, and I was practicing it, and I was going to play it and do it on stage. And I, very last second, there was a band, like, it was like a backup band, you know, and very last second, I bailed. I was like, I can't do it. I can't pull it off. So I'll sing. The band will play the song, and I'll just sing, which is like fine, but not the same thing as playing. So anyway, as you know, because you sent me a huge, it was inappropriate, but a singing stripper for my birthday a month ago. For my birthday this year, I bought myself another guitar and decided once again to take a crack at, as you can see, it's very in tune. Actually dropped the guitar on the floor last night, so that probably made it sound even better. But my point is this: it is now the middle of August, correct?
This is correct. It's the 12th.
I propose, and this is up to you, this is your decision to make. I propose that, I mean, who knows what the fuck is going to happen over the next 6 months or a year with all this, you know, who knows if there's a new variant, whatever. But if things are under control, I propose a live Christmas show for the long shot at Dynasty Typewriter, at which I will perform on, you know, we'll just record a live episode, but then I will a song on the guitar, and other people, you can do your, you know, your puppet show, the thing you know, where you turn your dick into a hamburger or whatever that show is.
It's just called the Dick into Hamburger Show.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I would like to do. So like I said, it's your decision, and I will abide by whatever you decide. But if we can do a live long shot podcast recording at Christmas time, I would like to put that.
I think that we have no choice but to do that. And I want to think of something personally that I can challenge myself to perform, whether it's an instrument or an act or just something that's. But anyway, I think it's a great idea. I have been thinking about it, and I think let's get the ball rolling. I'm writing it down on my to-do list right after wake up tomorrow.
Great.
Long shot.
Like mid-December sometime,
Yeah, we'll do a holiday show.
Right. Like we used to. We used to do live. I mean, one of the first live, I think the first live show we did was a Christmas show, if I'm not mistaken.
I do think it was
at the Fake
Tompkins
Gallery where we all gave each other Christmas presents with Paul F. Tompkins. Yeah.
And as I'm saying, I knew a part
and
of
that'll be 10 years ago as of this December.
That's crazy. I remember 10 years ago being like having so little money in my bank account that I went over to the ice cream place, Scoops or whatever it was called.
Yes. I probably still have that gift certificate here somewhere.
But I was like, I have $30 to my name and I'm using it right now to get everyone like $7 ice cream gift certificates. So now I think I could afford to give everyone at least a tenner.
10. I mean, you can get probably almost 2 full ice creams for 10.
Yeah. Well,
so that's my parting shot. That's the 10th anniversary Christmas spectacular long shot podcast.
And I think we should call it that.
The 10th anniversary. Great. I'm with you. Okay, so parting shots. Play passes to you, Jamie. Go ahead.
Okay, so I just thought of this story about a date that I went on that I don't think I talked about on the podcast. And I've only gone on a couple dates recently, and this was one of them. But
I'm going to guess this was like 7 weeks ago. Was it about 7 weeks ago?
That's uncanny, but I think it was about 7 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Maybe even 8 or 9. But it was towards the beginning of the world opening back up again. And so getting a reservation at a restaurant was not an easy thing to do. And so I ended up getting a reservation at this restaurant kind of out by USC, a part of town that I'm not very familiar with, but it had good.
Always good for a first date to be in an unfamiliar area that you don't really know your way around in.
Exactly. So I met her there, and it was a cute little strip. A part of it is kind of a weird. I mean, that whole area is very weird. It's like, anyway, but we had a nice meal. I felt like I wasn't even going to tell this part of it, but like I felt like there was like a point in the meal, like that she was very affable, and we connected and talked about a lot of things. One of the things listed on her dating profile was that she was not interested in having kids, which I try not to like. I still don't know. Like I don't know. I sometimes I'm like, yeah, I think I want kids, but I think it would all depend on who I end up with, and
a conversation you could have after you were involved in the relationship.
Yeah, certainly not something I would bring up on a first date.
Right.
But it did kind of come up. She was just asking because I'd recently been to Universal Studios with my nephew, and that came up, and she's like, "Oh, do you like kids?" And I was like, yeah, I do like kids. And I felt like the energy shifted, and she was like, she clearly did not like kids. Like, not even just like doesn't want to have kids, which is I think a different thing. But
she wishes they did not exist.
I wouldn't say that, but closer to that than wishing that everyone was a kid.
Right.
On the other end of the spectrum. But it was just like a subtle energy that I felt change where like I could tell there was like a little, I don't know. I just felt like, and it wasn't bad or anything. I just felt like after that point in the day, there was just a little bit of and maybe I was projecting, maybe we're both projecting, who knows, we're weird creatures with arms and legs.
Right.
And, but anyway, it was fine. And at the end of the night, I was walking to her car. And again, like I was on these weird streets that I just wasn't familiar with. And this car pulls up very slowly next to us as I'm walking down the street. And
a kid is driving. No,
no. The back window opens, and we didn't know what was happening, but it was like, but there's this guy, like kind of hippie-ish, hipstery kind of guy with longish hair, and he's like, "Hey, Dynasty typewriter," and I was like, "Oh, what?" And he's like, "Hey, man, I love that theater. I love everything you're doing over there, man. It's really cool. I just, I saw you and just had to say hello." And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much for stopping and saying that. That's so nice." And I was probably like, "Yeah, we're reopening right now. You got to come check out a show soon." He's like, "All right, man." And like the window goes up. I think he was just in an Uber. Like,
I was going to say, is this guy being limoed around by his chauffeur, or
Yeah, it was a car, but he was in the back, and it seemed like situation. Anyway, he drove off, and I felt, of course, so cool. Like, but it's so weird. It's like I'm not like a performer, like in that way. Like, just like,
hey, the doorman from Dynasty Typewriter.
But it looked like I must have paid this guy on this date, like the first date I've been on in years, and I was just so thankful. And like, but it just adding to the fact that, like, where am I even in the city of LA that this random stranger would pull up? Anyway, I whatever. My ego felt so stroked, and just walking back to the car with this girl, it looked like I get this all the time,
right?
And that's all.
Hey, you're the guy who does that theater. Jamie, I just want you to know I had such a good time, and I'm impressed that you went out of your way to pay someone to come by and say that they thought you were cool. But unfortunately, I want kids. So have a great night. Good night.
Well, there was no kiss or anything. And then about a week or a week and a half later, she texted. I think maybe I had followed up saying, "It was so nice to meet you." I had like part of me would want to just be like, "Nah, I don't think it's a match." Right. But she's very attractive, and it was good. It was like, okay, I want to force myself to be better at this, and
it's also like, this is the fucking end of the pandemic. I mean, at that time, it turns out that was not the case, but it was like you said, you hadn't been on a bunch of dates right up till then, and it was like, let's fucking get some shit working. Let's get some stuff going.
But then she didn't write back for a while, and then I got a text back from her saying, "Hey, it was really nice to meet you. Right now, I think I'd like to be friends. And let me know if that interests you. If not, I totally understand." And I think in the past I would have just been like, I don't know if I would have said no, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be open to it. And so I wrote back and said, "Yeah, that sounds nice. Let's let me know if you have a free night and we can hang out again, or if you have an event you're going out with friends." And then she followed up a couple weeks ago, and I was like, "I'm actually moving the next few days, so it's, as soon as I'm done, I should text you back." And I haven't done that yet, so maybe I'm reminded right now that I should.
Can I pitch something for the next time you're in this situation?
Yes.
And you don't have to do this, but I just think it'd be interesting. An interesting social experiment is if she texts you and says, "I think right now I would just like to be friends." What if you text back and you just say, "Fuck friends?" ?
Are we sure we haven't talked about this on the past episode? Because I have the craziest deja vu right now. Like, we definitely recorded this exact verbatim conversation on the last episode. Are you sure?
Never. Yes.
You're positive? Because I'm so certain right now that last time I was on. Okay. As you were asking that, it's like, oh my God, I've been right here. It was uncanny. Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess it remains to be seen. We'll see where this goes. This could go somewhere.
Well, I don't know if anything would happen, but I'm realizing, and maybe it's my age too, but like, I've been blessed. So I have a lot of friends, and but not everyone is so social. A lot of them have families. So like, I don't have like other than the theater, I don't have like a social life. Like, unless I'm proactively the one like doing it, and I rarely am. Like, but she's like someone that like is going to movies at the cemetery, and
right.
said she has a very active social calendar. She's looking to go to this little festival or whatever it is. Like, it's like I need someone like that in my life, like someone, because I'm not the one to do that anymore. Or I guess I
Right.
could, but also,
I get it,
Sean,
man. I get it. I'm in the same position, you
you
know?
want to go see a movie at the cemetery? Just you and me?
Yeah, what movie?
I don't even know what they're showing, but Grease 2.
Yeah, I don't know what the soundtrack is, but sure.
There's a
Let me
song
know.
called I think Easy Rider
Hmm.
or something Rider or something easy. That's all I remember.
All right. Well, I think we have to go because this connection is driving me crazy. And I feel like it's going to get lost again in a moment. And it occurs to me that it could possibly be my internet as well that's causing a problem. I just don't know.
To be, this is important, but it was Cool Rider, not Easy Rider.
Okay, fair enough. Folks, this has been the long shot. Jamie, do you want to plug anything before we leave?
I just want to plug mid-December, a Dynasty Typewriter, the Long Shot 10-year anniversary holiday show. Sean Conroy on the guitar and everyone else TBD. Look for it.
Great. Love it. All right, folks, this has been the long shot with Jamie Flam, and we will see you next time. Thanks for listening.
And all the coast